Welcome to Lunch with Legacy Leaders, a weekly talk show with local and national thought leaders on issues impacting the Black community. Now introducing our host, Miss Anne Marie Sorrell.
Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of Lunch with the Legacy Leaders. I am your host, Anne Marie Sorrell, President and CEO of the Mosaic Group. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us this afternoon. Before we get started, I'd like to first thank our sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Thank you to our sponsors, Broward Health, AARP, the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, and the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Husband Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami, Miller School of Medicine. If you or someone you know is experiencing loss of memory or memory problems, please contact their research team for more information at 877-686-6444. Now, today we are joined to talk about one of the hot investment topics, cryptocurrency. So I'd like to welcome our guest, Mark Anthony Rowley, who's a financial advisor and I would say cryptocurrency expert. He can correct me if I'm wrong. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, thanks for having me on today.
Thank you for being here. So, oh my God, I think the last several months, the financial markets have been a little crazy between Bitcoin, Dogecoin, I hope I said this right, Ethereum, I think that's how you say it, and so many others. So, but before we dive into that, Mark, share your journey and how you became this financial and wealth management guru.
All right, sure. First and foremost, thanks again for having me on this show. My name is Mark Rowley. Everyone just calls me Mark, but my background is I actually started my career out back right during the dot-com bubble burst. That was when the tech stocks were rocking and rolling, and everyone felt the need to have something with the end of .com. That was pets.com, homes.com, furniture.com. I was actually working at Bank of America Investments at the time, and decided to pursue my trading licenses, my Series 7, which is the general trading licensing. Became a trader at Bank of America, watched people make millions of dollars pretty much overnight from buying into all of the dot-coms. And then came the dot-com bubble burst in 2000, followed by September 11th, then followed by the Enron accounting scandal. So it became a very challenging career path, 3 years in a row, after getting my licensing and all. I left Bank of America Investments and joined Fidelity Investments, where I wore many different hats. At one point in time, working as a portfolio specialist, relationship manager, retirement consultant, and eventually a financial consultant, which I.e. is a financial advisor. My career there was for about 15 years, just watching the industry as a whole change. Originally, when I came into the industry, we were known as stockbrokers. But after the dot-com bubble burst, we then became financial advisors, which is a whole nother license and certification process, because what we started to find in the industry is that people were really seeking the help of not a broker, but an advisor. So thus I became a financial advisor. Was called back by Bank of America to work for Merrill Lynch. They acquired Merrill Lynch in somewhere around 2009, 2010. Worked for Merrill Lynch for about 2 or 3 years here in South Florida, and decided that I wanted to take my skill set a level higher and begin working more so with pre-retirees, which landed me back with Fidelity Investments, working in the Boca Raton area. As you can imagine, most people who are in Boca Raton have long since been retired, so that helped me develop another skill set, which was tax management and income planning. So I bounced around a little bit between those two, I guess you could say 3 companies, pretty much getting my feet wet to the point where I landed where I am now, which is working for what's called a regional investment advisor firm, which I serve as a director of financial planning. So I had a team of specialists, insurance specialists, mortgage specialists, accountants, attorneys, and so on. We, in a sense, help clients with any question under $1. So I actually have my own book of business that I'm currently running and managing. And so one of the things that we're seeing in today's world is that crypto assets is becoming more and more popular. As of today, there's about for every 2 or 3 investors out there, they're interested now in learning more about what the landscape holds for crypto investing. Probably one of the most important pieces there is how crypto investing will be regulated. I think once that answer comes out, I think we'll probably see it more and more often as discussed, and people actually partaking in investing in it.
Absolutely. So that kind of segue into, for our audience members who may have heard the term, may have even opened up a Robinhood account like myself, put some money into Bitcoin, or put some money, or they may have Coinbase or whatever the account is that they have, or even Fidelity Investment, or TD, whoever.
Absolutely.
They may have used any of those and said, I'm going to put some money in Bitcoin or Dogecoin or whoever, and they're following Elon Musk, and oh my God, Elon Musk has tanked the crypto market.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, like I said, it's been like a little roller coaster lately. So let's get to the basics of it first. What exactly is cryptocurrency?
Yeah, I mean, a description of cryptocurrency. I'm going to give you 2 versions of it. And I do this a lot with my clients, because there is the textbook definition and then there's the plain English definition. But the textbook definition is it's basically a form of payment that can be used to purchase online goods and services, right? This is very basic. It is a revolutionary, just as the internet, and it will be part of our daily lives at some point, probably sooner than later. But it is a way for us to make transactions electronically. I think we hear some of the bigger players, Bitcoin and Ethereum, because they actually have a purpose of their coins, which is to allow you to use the coins to make individual purchases. Whereas some of the other coins out there, and there are over 2,500 coins. Some will be here today, gone tomorrow, but those are the 2 biggest, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and they allow you to make those online transactions. Okay. Now, a simple version is, imagine if you were to go to, let's just say, the Hard Rock Casino. You have a dollar bill, you exchange that dollar for the chips, and everyone walks around the casino with chips. It's the same concept, right? We have given the chip the dollar value, just as we give Bitcoin and some of the other cryptocurrencies dollar value. The idea is that if we all agree that chip is worth $1, $5, or $25, then we're able to use that chip throughout the casino. And it's the same concept when you focus on cryptocurrencies.
Now, do you see this? Because there are the conspiracy theory folks who believe that cryptocurrency is a way for the world to create this, not the world, but the world giants to create this one world currency. Do you see cryptocurrency moving into that type of direction where it becomes the universal international currency for people to buy and sell with?
Yeah, so the answer to that question is yes, but partially. What's happening now, just like the stock market, you're finding that countries are realizing that they can't stop the crypto world from evolving. So what they can do is regulate it. And by regulating, what you're seeing now is about 20% of the world governments are actually creating what's called a stable coin. And a stable coin will be simply, say, a country like Japan allowing its citizens to use their form and their version of cryptocurrency. So while Bitcoin most likely will be here to stay, there are going to be other currencies that are out there that certain governments are going to allow in order to maintain control of their currency. They just have to regulate it.
Wow. This is such a shift, just even thinking about how we think about money. And I know money has shifted in our lifetime, because if we think about change, coins, from coins and paper dollar bills to debit cards and credit cards to now just, transactions through Cash App and Venmo, et cetera, where you're not even seeing a dollar bill anymore. You're just exchanging through, this network, right? And then now here we have this coin, digital coin, this digital currency that's also changing the financial sector, this is actually just really astonishing to me, how we've transitioned with currency over time. What are your thoughts? And do you think that there's going to be another type of transition, or is this going to be like the ultimate, financial currency transition that we're going to experience, or maybe there's something else that'll come along in the future that we don't know about?
Right. Well, I'll say that the pandemic didn't help the naysayers from the standpoint of, as you would imagine, I remember I went through a drive-through of a fast food chain, gave them cash, and they gave me their cash back in a plastic bag with my receipt. I think what we're now looking at is people have looked at money as being dirty and accepted it even more as being dirty. And so now using your debit card or your credit card to just tap on the machine, or using your phone or your watch to tap on machines to make payment, we're already starting to see the electronic forms of money take place. When you think about cryptocurrencies, in particular Bitcoin, companies like MasterCard and Visa are offering it. So they are very much getting into the playing field. A lot of the banks are offering, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. They are all big players in the cryptocurrency world. In some cases, even considering creating their own cryptocurrency. So the world is going to be changing. We'll probably see the evolution of cryptocurrencies in our world increase. In fact, I'm going to not even use the word cryptocurrencies. I'm going to use the word digital assets, because that's exactly what they are. So digital assets will, in a sense, work to replace the dollar that we are familiar with, as it begins to revolutionize the way we purchase and pay for goods and services. So I think it's here to stay. What more so, though, is here to stay is blockchain technology. And here's why I say blockchain technology is here to stay, because that's what we use through our digital assets to make purchases or to make transfers of money. If you think back to the airline industry, whenever it first was originated, you probably had one, maybe two airlines. Those one or two airlines are probably no longer in existence. As other companies were able to I guess, modify and advance their technology with aircraft, they began to displace certain other aircraft companies, or in this case, airline companies. So you're probably going to start to see the same thing. That's why there are 2,500 different coins out there, 2,500 plus. The ones that get it right will actually probably be the one that will stay around the longest. Again, right now, Bitcoin has its foothold in this market space because most, if not all, of the cryptocurrencies out there, out of the 2,500, most of them have some exposure to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin does drive the value of those securities. So if you want to think about where Bitcoin sits in the cryptocurrency chain of command, think of it as the sun, and all of the other currencies are planets just orbiting the sun, right? So everyone is really relying currently, and that currently could be short-lived, but currently are relying on Bitcoin to be the forerunner.
Awesome. And if you don't mind, Mark, pull your screen down just a little bit so we can see more of your handsome face. Okay, great.
All right.
So with that being said, we know that, and I didn't even start with gold, but gold, for example, was a form of currency. And then also now it's an investment. So let's talk about the investment side of cryptocurrency or the digital assets.
Sure.
And by the way, is digital assets and all of this also considered a part of the fintech wave?
It can be, correct. The unique thing here, and I think everyone understands this, is that digital assets are so new and still have a lot of regulation to go through, right? Going back to 2009, when you first started hearing about Bitcoin and some of these other cryptocurrencies that were out there, the one big thing that was missing was regulation. And I think a lot of people believe that these coins and this form of money would be a fad and short-lived. But with so many big players, you have billionaires now buying these securities, like Mark Cuban and so on, and Elon Musk, as we mentioned, buying into these securities. And so many companies like Uber and Lyft are now beginning to accept Bitcoin for purchases. It's becoming so mainstream, and our world is changing so quickly that we're actually seeing in a sense that this is going to be pretty much part of our life, just as the internet is part of our lives, right? So as the technology improves, what makes Bitcoin so popular is it's the most secure out of all coins. So when you think about it from an investment standpoint, if you purchase Bitcoin through Robinhood or directly through Coinbase or any of the others, I think you can also get it from PayPal now, as well as ATM machines. I've noticed I've seen them at gas stations where you can buy Bitcoin directly through. As it becomes more and more popular, just as gold was a popular investment, as you mentioned, and still is to some degree, you're going to also see a market space where your portfolios, your 401ks will also have some exposure, if not already, to some of these cryptocurrencies. And when I say not already, a company like MicroStrategy, which is a huge investor in Bitcoin, or a company like Tesla, which is a huge investor in Bitcoin, you probably own these securities inside of your mutual funds, which are also invested in your 401k. So whether or not you have direct exposure of actually owning Bitcoin, most likely the investments that you hold are banking their future and a lot of their success off of their exposure to Bitcoin.
Awesome. We have a question from our audience. So before we get into more of the investment, who is regulating cryptocurrency? Who are the regulators?
So as of right now, this is something that's still in the air. You're not finding a lot of regulation. Obviously, the Federal Reserve is now working towards regulation. The SEC, which obviously is one of the biggest watchdogs, and when it comes to these investments, their job is simply to make sure it's safe for the individual investors such as you and myself to be able to purchase and not look at our wallet one day and see that a scam has occurred where we've been wiped out or robbed of our coins. And that was something that was happening very frequently. Roughly, 5 to 10 years ago, we were seeing that people were losing their coins because it wasn't as protected. So the regulators will be most likely governments, whether it be the government of Turkey or whether it be the United States government. You're going to see more government regulations. And one of the other biggest reasons why you'll see more government regulations, I'll give you a great example. You mentioned earlier Dogecoin, which is also known in my world as doggy coin because it was considered to be a joke when it was first created. But if you would have had a $10,000 investment in doggy coin at the beginning of the year, January 1st, you'd have about somewhere around $1.4 million in doggy coin. So the key is the IRS wants a piece of that action, right? So in some cases, those who cashed out would find themselves paying a higher amount in taxes, obviously somewhere between the tune of 30 to maybe even 50%. So there's going to be a lot of regulation because that's such a profitable way for the IRS to also impose their taxes. So, but as of right now, there are rules that are being reviewed and passed, but nothing is actually etched in stone as to how they're going to control any of these digital assets on a global scale.
Okay. No, that's such great information, guys. So it's so much to unpack when it comes to this cryptocurrency. And I know we're not going to be able to do it in our short period of time. So few more questions that come to mind.
Sure.
One, when we talk about investing, how much does one need to have to start investing in cryptocurrency or other digital assets? And what are some of the best ones to start with, in your opinion, right now?
Probably the toughest question. So the first one, as far as how much do you need, depends on what platform you go through. I've had a niece who put $20 into her, I want to say it was her Cash App, and was able to purchase some Bitcoin. So as far as how much you need is really going to be dependent on what channels that you go through. But I'll tell you something interesting enough, and it goes back to the regulation, is that you're finding a lot of the brokerage houses you cannot buy these securities through. For example, Morgan Stanley will purchase it for you, but you need a minimum of $2 million with them in order for them to even consider it. Fidelity limits you to being an accredited investor, meaning that you have to prove that you're running a mutual fund or some sort of trust company in order to have exposure to buy directly. So It's very unique because things are still relatively new in this market space. I think the news media has really hyped it up and made a lot of people feel that they could just also participate at a drop of a dime, and you can, but you have to go through some of those channels such as PayPal, Cash App. I think Venmo is another one where you can purchase it through. Robinhood, obviously. So it really depends on what the guidelines are with those firms. But I have my niece buying it, which is $20. So now, obviously, you can't buy all of Bitcoin. And the unique thing about Bitcoin is there's a finite number in Bitcoin. There's only 21 million coins out there. So as each time someone purchases or adds money towards the purchase of Bitcoin, that drives the value up because there's a finite number. Whereas you have some of the other cryptocurrencies have an infinite number, which brings in more risk, which means that more regulation will eventually be needed.
Wow. So that brings me to one of our audience questions where it talks about, what is it attached to? Because you can hold, feel, touch gold. You can hold money. Oftentimes you can go to the bank, or go to the ATM machine, draw out your cash. This, it feels like it's just something that's aloof and in the air.
It actually is. It actually is in a sense make-believe money that's tied to an agreement that we all agree that it's worth this amount. Going back to the poker chips in the casino, right? If you take that chip out of the casino and go to your local gas station, you may not get the result that you want. So it's pretty much the same thing. With cryptos, it's in a sense, it's given value through supply and demand. If you have it, I want it, I'm willing to believe in its value and therefore increase its value through the demand of trying to accumulate it myself. So it really isn't tied to anything. I think when we think money or currency like the US dollar, it once was tied to gold, but that standard has been removed. And now, just like your dollar is not necessarily tied to anything, neither is any of these cryptocurrencies.
Wow. And I think that's what makes it really mind-boggling for people, because it's like, well, how do you evaluate this? What's the value on it? What's the value of one unit? So for example, and we're going to get into just quickly your thoughts on how when this crash recently happened, when everybody got super excited about Elon Musk and his announcement of Dogecoin, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin went from 50-something thousand to now 30-something thousand. Doge was expected to go up $1, and it only hit about 60 cents. Mm-hmm. And then it's back to about 30 cents right now. Right. Ethereum was expected to go to like 5,000. I think it hit 4,000 something. I think it's back down to the 2,000s now. So it's such a volatile market. How do you evaluate this? How do you, as a lay person that's just like, I just want to put $100 in and make $1 million.
or 2,000 and make 1.4. Yeah, that's a great question. There's still a cloud of mystery around cryptocurrencies, the valuation. And I think probably the biggest thing is, and this is a conversation I have with my clients when they bring up the idea of owning cryptocurrencies in their portfolio. There are really a couple of objectives that I point out. And the first one is, consider this, in a sense, is not an investment. This is more of a speculative type security, right? So it's not your traditional investment as, let's say, a mutual fund or an individual stock. It does have, in a sense, the same premise of supply and demand drives its value. Again, going back to, if you want it and I want it, I'm willing to pay you more for it. But I would tell you, from a standpoint to kind of view it as this, it's from an investment standpoint, you would want to give yourself a long time horizon. I would say at least a 10-year time period as far as holding it. I think maybe the biggest thing I tell a lot of my clients is you don't want to own more than 1 or 2% of your net worth into any of these coins. If you're already wealthy, well, stay wealthy by obviously maintaining your focus on what you have. But if you're a new wealth, right? If you're the average everyday person out here who is trying to determine whether or not you want to invest in it and how much you want to invest in it, you want to start slow and gradually build it, right? But the worst advice I think I could give on this also is Probably worse, but yet the best is to understand you may lose everything, right? At one point in time, you had coins like Litecoin that was very popular. Their Lear was very popular, as well as many others. And it seems like Bitcoin is still the remaining champion. Ethereum is popular because it does a little bit of something similar to Bitcoin, not as safe as Bitcoin, but allows you to have point-to-point transactions, which makes it a little bit more unique and a little bit more advanced than Bitcoin, but still not as popular as Bitcoin. So to your audience, I would say I would start off small. I wouldn't put 20% of my net worth in expecting to roll the dice for it to turn into something such as a $60,000 or 60%, I should say, return overnight. I would say start small with a small percentage and go into it for the long term.
And that's a good point. And so recently, I'm in the real estate market and I'm looking for something. And I recently saw this property and they will only accept crypto. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very interesting considering how volatile crypto is. And I was like, wow, this $400,000 home, they won't accept anything else, not cash, not financing, nothing but crypto. So when we talk about purchases, what can you currently purchase with cryptocurrency from your knowledge? And so I put $20 in Doji, right? Mm-hmm. Doggy, Doge, whatever we want to call it. And I got like $198 now, right? Mm-hmm. Can I take my $198 and go?
You can. You can take it out. You just have to make sure whatever the platform you have that the fee, because I've heard some stories about different fee structures in cashing out. It makes make sense for you to cash out now. But I'm going to stick back to my golden rule. I think these are long-term holds, right? I'm not too comfortable with Dogecoin because, again, it was created as a practical joke. And it's speculation that's driven up the value, not the ability to buy something with it, right? It's not ability to trade or buy. It's more of a speculation. No different than what we're seeing today with AMC stock, right? AMC movie theaters are not packed with lines down the street like they were, back in the day. They're pretty much empty theaters, yet the stock continues to rise in value because of demand. And that's the same thing I would say with certain coins that are out there. But you mentioned what can you buy? I think the smart move of if you are going to use, let's say, Bitcoin to make a purchase, I think what you want to look at are those high value ticketed items, such as a home. You wouldn't want to buy a $3 Starbucks cup of coffee with Bitcoin because your $3 may be worth $30 tomorrow. And that would mean you would have a loss, right, for making that type of purchase. But to buy a home, I know there's a couple of NFL players who've wanted to have a portion, if not all of their salaries paid out in Bitcoin and so on. So if it's a high value transaction, it may make sense. But if it's something as simple as, I think you can go to certain, I'm hearing talks, so you can go down to certain department stores and buy clothes with Bitcoin. It may not make sense in those parameters. So you want to make sure that you're using the coin appropriately for what you want to use it for. And again, it should be looked more so from a long-term investment.
I love that advice. Thank you. That was really good. Now, how does someone educate themselves more? Because we know we can't talk to you all day. So how does someone educate themselves more? And then I also want you to touch on, with the time we have left, I want you to touch on some of the other financial investments that you coach individuals and families on to build personal and generational wealth.
Yeah, so a couple of sources you can go to in order to make the determination on, if this is an investment for you. It will be an investment at some point in time that you will own if you have any securities, whether it's an individual stock that chooses to purchase Bitcoin or whether you find it in a mutual fund. There's regulation right now that's being determined as to whether or not exchange traded funds, which are mutual funds that trade like stocks, will be put forth so that we can all just simply log into an investment account at TD Ameritrade or Fidelity or Charles Schwab and just purchase your cryptocurrencies in a little bit more of a secure manner through one of these brokerage houses and own it in more of a diversified portfolio, which then minimizes your risk, but still give you the exposure that you may want to have to these securities. So I would say do your research through group forums. Obviously, you can go on Facebook and find a lot of forums where people are talking about these different types of currencies. Podcasts is where I got a lot of my information from, and just kind of getting an understanding of this landscape. Definitely look into YouTubers, right? See if whether or not you feel they're credible when you're listening to them, because there are a lot of scam artists out there, because there's a lot of money tied to this. And I've been approached numerous times by scam artists about purchasing Bitcoin, right? I think there was one in my inbox the other day who was like, would you like for me to show you how to make $2 million? And I'm thinking to myself, well, why won't you do it for yourself if you want me to do it? So you got to kind of see through some of the scams, but I would definitely say look into those sources. And there's also something referred to as what's called a white paper. And white papers are like, they're unlike some of the sources that we talked about, which are a little bit more user-friendly through podcasts and YouTubers, and as well as social media sites. But it's maybe a better understanding through reports that are generated. If you Google white paper reports, you usually find them on different types of investments, whether it be bonds or stocks. But there are also now white paper reports out there that you can find in regards to cryptocurrencies. And they're designed by the experts to educate audiences so that they will have a better understanding of the crypto world. Okay.
Now, those are really good points, because, and I really want people to make sure you rewind this, make sure you're getting credible resources, credible information. We know that everybody on social media right now has made themselves some sort of a subject matter expert. We got Clubhouse experts, YouTube experts, bloggers, Instagram, you name it. We got a whole bunch of self-proclaimed experts out there. So please make sure that you're getting your information from credible persons who've been trained, who've been experienced in the financial market, such as Mark.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, I'm actually going through a certification program right now. It's a 10-week course about digital assets. There are more than just Bitcoin that's going to be out there, or cryptocurrencies. As I mentioned, digital assets are going to also include NFTs and other types of investments that are out there. So, my thoughts would be to, if you don't have a financial advisor, maybe, reach out to a financial advisor. We're in a unique area for the financial planning world right now, in a sense of a lot of financial advisors are over age 60, and those are probably going to be the advisors that are not going to implement cryptocurrencies or digital assets into portfolios. But you'll probably find some of the younger advisors that are going to have to really do a deep dive into it. So I would probably start with a professional first and see what they give you as far as advice and ways to maybe participate in any of these digital assets.
Absolutely. And we're gonna have to do a whole nother show on NFTs, because that's all the hype right now.
Yeah.
All the hype.
All the hype. Exactly.
So real quick, share your top 3 financial tips for building personal and generational wealth for our audience.
I don't know if I have 3, but I'm going to give 2 that I use for every single person who walks through my doors. My strategy is simply this. You're investing for the long term. That's kind of what any type of investment is, whether you're investing in your children, whether you're investing in your education, or whether you're investing in your financial future. It's always going to be a long-term approach. So what I've seen as far as the people who tend to win in an investment or any type of investment are those who stay invested at all times. The market's up when the markets are down, right? Even with the cryptocurrencies, staying invested. When I first came into understanding what Bitcoin was, it was traded at $9,000 a coin. And I remember actually telling my father, hey, you need to put some money into this. And of course, he did nothing. And then we saw, this thing skyrocket over the years. But that long-term investment approach and staying invested is going to be a critical key for any investment that you have. The other approach would be to own the markets all the time. Cryptocurrencies should be a part of your or a portion of your entire overall investment strategy or your portfolio strategy. I always tell people you're going to be invested in 4 markets: money markets, which is your cash; bond markets, which are going to give you protection and security; stock markets, which are going to give you growth; and real estate markets, which also will give you protection and security as well as growth. But we should all be invested in those 4. Where you want to align cryptocurrencies in that portfolio is pretty much up to you at this point. But the key, I believe, is to own the markets, all of the markets, all the time, and stay invested in the markets.
Wow, Mark, this has been such a wealth of information, and I'm sure there's so much more that you can impart on us. I'm actually going to invite you to speak at our National Black Economic Conference, which is going to be August 13th. It'll be virtual again this year. So I'll be in touch with you on that to talk about this very topic. How does our audience reach you for more information or engage your assistance in their financial planning and future?
Actually, I think probably the easiest way to reach out to me would be via email, or you can, and let me see if I can give you a good email address here. You can email me at markarowley@consultant.com. Mark A. Rowley at consultant, one T, no S, consultant.com. Probably be the easiest way. You can shoot me an email and I can kind of give you a little bit of understanding of my knowledge and expertise on whether it's the cryptocurrency, I would say industry, or whether it be more along the lines just personal finance.
And do you have any social media handles that folks can follow you on?
So I uniquely have a WhatsApp group, and I'll have to see if I can send it out to you. And I don't know if you can get that out to everyone, but there's quite a few people that I have that are on there. We just have like our own forum in which we share ideas in regards to different types of topics, whether it be buying a home, whether it be buying or leasing cars, or whether it be what investments, what is AMC, what is Robinhood, what do these companies mean, and where they're going. So that would be another avenue that you can go to.
Absolutely. Well, stay with us for a moment, Mark. This has been phenomenal. I'm sure there are many other questions that people have, but you heard it here. Email Mark with your questions. I'm sure he'll be happy to also add you to the WhatsApp group, because he's going to add me to the WhatsApp group. And make sure that you share this video, everyone. So a few quick announcements, Mark, just stick with me. I want to thank our sponsors again: Broward Health, AARP, the Solid Waste Authority of Palm Beach County, and the African American Black Alzheimer's Disease Initiative at the John P. Hussman Institute for Human Genomics, University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. Also, save the date. Our next issue, featuring South Florida's top educators, will be released on June 20th. So make sure you mark your calendar to pick up the Miami Herald as well as the Sun Sentinel, or you can simply go to miamediagrp.com to check out the new issue on the 20th. But in the meantime, you can go there to check out upcoming events and different things happening around South Florida, as well as our current issue that features the 2021 most powerful and influential Black business leaders in South Florida. Please remember to tune in to our show, Soul, hosted by none other than Miss Nikki Jellin, every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. as we disseminate intellectual entertainment on fashion, arts and culture, relationships, mental health, and food in South Florida. Be sure again to share this video and mark your calendar to tune in with us again next Thursday at noon. Thank you, Mark, and thank you all for tuning in.
Thank you.